The distress beacon looked like a normal emergency signal, but it wasn't what anyone expected, because its message led to a shocking twist involving a human. It had traveled 17 light-years before Kale, the Vrexian Alpha, received it. The moment he heard the report, his claws sank into the metal armrest of his command throne. 2 of the pack's cubs, missing for 3 solar cycles, were traced to a human ship drifting near the outer rim. Humans, those strange survivors from a deadly world, were known for walking through radiation like morning mist, swallowing poisons that could melt a Vrexian's organs, and fighting creatures their size for fun. The entire galaxy treated humanity with careful respect after the Treaty of Broken Chains. They were allies now, technically, but trust didn't come easy. And now, a human vessel held 2 of his young. Kale rose to his feet, fury burning through every muscle. He had trained for crises all his life. He had fought pirates, raiders, and beasts from forgotten moons. But this was different. This rescue mission wasn't handled correctly. Blood would spill. Someone would die. Worse, a conflict between Vrexians and humans could ignite one that could tear apart fragile alliances across the stars. His pack assembled instantly, 20 towering, warriors ready to carve their vengeance into whatever threat waited aboard that human ship. They believed the cubs had been stolen, and when a Vrexian pack believed their young were in danger, nothing in the galaxy could stop them. Kale moved toward the deployment bay, his triple-jointed legs carrying his massive body with long, furious strides. His silver fur stood on end, glowing faintly under the red emergency lights. The Vrexians were apex predators on 4 worlds. Their instincts sharpened over thousands of years. And every one of those instincts screamed the same thing. Their cubs had been taken. Around him, the pack formed quickly. 8 feet tall, each armed with retractable claws strong enough to cut through starship hulls, stood ready for blood. Their bright, glowing eyes shimmered with old, inherited rage passed down through generations. They boarded their warp craft, bet their movements fast and synchronized like a hunting team preparing for the final strike. The human ship appeared on sensors soon after, a small cargo vessel drifting in space like wounded prey. One engine was silent. Scorch marks covered its hull, as if it had struggled through a plasma storm. Kale's scanners detected a single human life sign on board, and 2 smaller ones. The moment he recognized the cub's signatures, his breath caught. They were alive. His voice cut through the comms with sharp authority. Breach protocol, non-lethal, until we confirm. He didn't need to finish the threat that followed. The pack already knew. They sliced through the airlock in seconds, their weapons drawn, their footsteps heavy in the cramped human corridors. The ship was small for their size. Emergency lights flickered along the walls, casting shifting shadows. Kale caught the cubs. Scent frightened, hungry, but unharmed. And then he caught the human's scent. Tired, hurt, but calm. So strangely calm that his instincts hesitated for the first time. They found her in the medical bay. The human sat slumped against the wall, her dark hair tangled and matted with dried blood from a cut on her forehead. Her left arm hung broken, swollen and bent at an angle that made several Vrexians flinch. Burns marked her flight suit, showing where she had rerouted power through failing systems. The room was dim, lit only by fading emergency panels. The medical drone above her hung useless and silent, its power cell completely drained, and on her chest, curled up in a warm pile of blankets and her own jacket, slept Kale's cubs. The tiny Vrexians, barely old enough to leave their den, rose and fell with the rhythm of her breathing. Their small claws were tucked safely away. Soft, bioluminescent patterns pulsed across their fur in slow, peaceful waves. One of them, his daughter Lyra, had her little face nuzzled against the human's collarbone, whiskers twitching as she dreamed. The human's good arm rested lightly across their backs, holding them close as if they were her own children. Kale lifted a hand and the entire pack froze. 20 weapons stayed locked on the human, but no one dared move. No one dared speak. The human's eyes opened slowly. Brown eyes, tired but steady. She didn't grab for a weapon. She didn't try to use the cubs as shields. She simply looked. At Kale and unbelievably smiled. "You must be Dad," she said softly. "Took you long enough." Kale stepped forward, every muscle coiled tight. "How did my children come to be on your vessel?" "Seren," she said, giving her name with a small wince. Ira murmured in her sleep, and Seren instantly stilled, protective even in pain. "Found them in an escape pod. Your ship was attacked 3 cycles ago. A trader told me about it at the station." Kale's eyes narrowed. He remembered the attack-brutal raiders who didn't live long after making that mistake. In the chaos, one escape pod had been lost before they realized cubs were inside. Saren continued, her voice rough but honest. They were dehydrated and terrified. Pod's life support was failing. I pulled them aboard and got them stable. Tried to put them in the med pod, but every time I set them down, they cried. She looked down at the sleeping cubs with a painfully tender expression. So I held them. Someone had to. She took a shaky breath. Hit a plasma storm 18 hours ago. I lost my repair drone keeping systems alive long enough to send the beacon. Your cub's genetic markers were in it. I knew someone would. Come. I just had to keep them safe until then. Kale stared at the injured human, trying to make sense of what she had done. She had sacrificed her own medical care for cubs that weren't even her species. Cubs whose adult pack planned to rip through this ship in rage. And yet, she had held them close, fed them, protected them, and fought to keep them alive even as her own body failed. Something deep inside Kale shifted, an instinct older than language. It was the recognition of a pack. Bond, something that went beyond species, biology, or blood. He holstered his weapon. Behind him, the pack followed without a word. 20 safeties clicked into place all at once, the sound soft but powerful, like a vow. Kale stepped closer. My daughter, he said quietly, has been crying in her sleep since the attack. Nightmares. Saren's expression softened. Not tonight. Tonight she dreamed of running through tall grass under a blue sun. She gave a small, tired smile. I could feel it by the way she moved. Our home world, Kale whispered. She has never seen it. Maybe it's genetic memory, Saren murmured. Or maybe just hope. Kale lowered himself to one knee beside her. Up close, he could see the tremor in her good arm, the shallow breaths of someone with cracked ribs, and the exhaustion carved into every line of her face. She had held on far past the point most beings would have collapsed. She had done it for his children. The pack came for blood, Kale said. Softly, he slowly extended his clawed hand, palm up and harmless. We came ready to paint this ship with vengeance. Saren gave a tired laugh. Yeah, I guessed. But we found something we did not expect, Kale said, his voice rough with emotion. We found Pack. Saren blinked, and tears filled. Her eyes for the first time. I just wanted them to be safe. They are, Kale said gently, because of you. Carefully, he lifted the sleeping cubs from her chest. They grumbled, but did not wake, trusting even the shift in arms. Kale passed them to his second-in-command, before returning to Saren. Saren of Earth, he said, sliding one arm behind, her back and another beneath her legs. Now we protect you. She didn't argue. She didn't try to stand on her own. She simply rested her head against his chest and whispered, thank you. On the flagship's medical deck, Saren received the care she had denied herself. Her arm was set, her burns treated, and her body finally allowed to rest. Kale stayed beside her recovery pod while the cubs returned to their pack, but not for long. They kept wandering back, pressing against the pod's clear wall where Saren slept peacefully inside. When Kale's mate arrived from their homeworld, she took one look at the scene and understood. She is Pack now, she said simply. She is Pack, Kale agreed. The cubs have chosen. Days later, when Saren woke fully healed, she found herself surrounded by Vrexians who no longer saw her as an outsider. They saw her as family. A bond formed across stars, forged in danger, protected through sacrifice. A human who cared for cubs that weren't hers, an alpha who learned compassion, and a pack that discovered what humanity truly meant. They did not choose each other by blood. They chose each other by heart. and that made them stronger than any alliance ever written.